Hey, it's Chris Allingham, the Virtual Weber Bullet. You know, recently I cooked pork tenderloin in the Weber Smokey Mountain Cooker for the first time. It's hard to believe that in the 20 plus years I've been using the Smoky Mountain Cooker, I've cooked a lot of different things, but never pork tenderloin for some reason. So I gave it a shot recently. It's a meat that I love to grill. I like to marinate it and cook it at high temp on a gas or a charcoal grill, but I'd never done it in the Weber Smokey Mountain Cooker. So I tried that recently. I shot some photos and some video, and I want to walk you through the process of what I did. So here are 2 pork tenderloin that I picked up at Costco. I've already trimmed them of a little bit of surface fat and the silver skin. I've created a separate video that shows how to remove silver skin from pork tenderloin. I'll include a link to that video in the description of this one. Now I'm applying rub here to the pork tenderloin. This is Bad Byron's butt rub. It's intended for pork butt, obviously. You can use it on other cuts of meat. It does have some chipotle pepper in it, so it's got a little bit of heat, and that heat turned out to be a little bit pronounced on these pork tenderloins. There's kind of a higher ratio of rub to meat when you cook something small like this than if you apply that rub to a pork butt. There's also a sauce I'm going to use later, which also is reinforced with some chipotle chili pepper too. So chipotle on chipotle action here with this pork tenderloin. You can use any kind of rub that you want, of course. I use what I happen to have on hand for these pork tenderloin. And here are the finished rubbed pork tenderloins. You can see how much rub I applied to each piece of meat here. Now I transferred those pork tenderloins to a smaller sheet pan, covered them with plastic wrap, and moved that into the refrigerator for 1 hour prior to cooking them in the Weber Smokey Mountain Cooker. I chose 1 fist-sized chunk of dry apple smoke wood to smoke these pork tenderloins. And now it's time to light the fire. So I've got a Weber chimney starter full of Kingsford charcoal all the way to the top, using 2 Weber fire starter cubes. And it takes just about 10 or 12 minutes to get that full chimney full of charcoal, fully lit and hot and ready to go for cooking. It's time to dump this charcoal. You can see that I have flames at the very top of the chimney. Not all that charcoal is grayed over. That's a good sign. You don't want it to be totally gray at the top, otherwise you've burned up everything at the bottom. So when you see flames licking at the top like this, it's time to dump. So I'm going to dump the charcoal into the charcoal chamber. And I'm going to use a pair of tongs to spread this out in one even layer. And now I'll add my smoke wood chunk on top of the lit charcoal. And I will assemble the cooker. Now it's time to add those pork tenderloins. I'm going to spray the top side with some nonstick cooking spray so they don't stick to the grate. And then I'll place that sprayed side down on the grate. And we're ready to cook. Put the lid back on the cooker. I've got all the vents wide open at this point. I'm going to keep them that way throughout the cooking process. So my target internal temperature for these pork tenderloins was 140 degrees Fahrenheit. I cooked them for 18 minutes. And you know, I'm on the top cooking grate. There's more distance between the meat and the fire. I don't have the water pan in place here, so I'm getting direct heat, but I'm quite a ways up above the fire. So I figured that something that would normally take, you know, perhaps 15 to 20 minutes on a charcoal grill or a gas grill, it would take a little bit longer here in the Smoky Mountain Cooker at the higher level of this cooking grate. I cooked them for 18 minutes, and when I checked the temperature, they were sitting at 128 degrees Fahrenheit, which was a little bit higher than I expected. But I went ahead and sprayed the top surface, and I flipped these tenderloins over a second time, and then I pretty quickly applied a thin coat of sauce to the top side of the meat. Of course, you can use any barbecue sauce that you like. I'm using a barbecue sauce I made in advance from a recipe in Weber's Smoke Cookbook. It's called Sweet Apple Barbecue Sauce. You'll find that recipe in the article on the Virtual Weber Bullet website that accompanies this video. I'll include a link to that in the description of the video. So from 128 degrees Fahrenheit, I cooked the tenderloins for another 10 minutes, and when I checked them, they were at 148 degrees, so I'd overshot my target by 8 degrees. It took me a couple of minutes to realize that I had overcooked the meat, so I flipped them one more time and sauced them one more time, and then I moved them to a rim baking sheet, and I brought them into the house to rest. I covered them with foil and let them sit for about 10 minutes before I sliced into them. But I was very pleased when I sliced into the meat to find that it was not dry, it was not totally overcooked. I still had some pink on the inside of the tenderloin. They were very juicy, very moist, and really very, very flavorful. The salt had penetrated the meat in that 1 hour rest in the fridge, so the meat was nicely seasoned. The sauce and the rub worked together to give a really nice flavor and also a little bit of kick from that chipotle chili. So I was really happy with the result. In fact, the pork tenderloin was so good that my wife and I didn't even sit down to eat it. We just sliced it up on a cutting board and we ate it right off the cutting board and marveled at how delicious and moist and flavorful this pork tenderloin was. I think next time there's some things I would do differently. I'd still target that 140 degree internal temperature, but I think I would start by cooking the meat on the top grate for about 20 minutes, turning it every 5 minutes, and then I would move the cooking grate down on top of the hot charcoal and try to get some color and sear on the meat right at the very end, and I would sauce the meat quickly once or twice before taking it off the grill for that 10-minute rest in the kitchen. Another thing I might do differently is that I might cook more tenderloin. These two were delicious, but 4 would have been even better, and they do make for great leftovers. So I'd encourage you to give pork tenderloin a try in the Weber Smokey Mountain Cooker. It's delicious, it's a fast cook. I think you really enjoy it. Well, I hope you found that useful. I appreciate you watching my video. I appreciate you very much. If you could like and subscribe to my videos, it helps other people find them. Until next time, take care everybody. Bye-bye.